was a prime vision for future cities. But you just take a look around, it doesn't really seem that way.
Imagine a job where you spend the night in haunted buildings to see if ghosts are real. I'm taking you to some of China's eeriest spots, like creepy abandoned homes believed to be watched by spirits. Despite its stunning beauty, the Forbidden City hides dark secrets, making it a place of mystery and suspense as darkness falls. What if these shadows hide the spirits of a troubled past, still wandering the halls? Let us dive into these spine-chilling stories and uncover what truly terrifies China. China is a country full of rich traditions and beautiful landscapes, but it also has some incredibly quiet and eerie places that not many people talk about. In this journey, I'll introduce you to some of the abandoned homes and buildings where many believe spirits still linger. Believe it or not, there are even people whose job is to test these so-called haunted places. These ghost house testers stay in the buildings for a full day and night to see if they can confirm any paranormal activity. As the sun sets behind the misty peaks of an isolated mountain, our next destination lies shrouded in more than just fog. If such a job exists, it tells us that people take these haunted places seriously. One of the most famous haunted spots in China is the Forbidden City, also known as Gugong. Built in 1420, this huge palace complex was the center of Chinese imperial power for almost 500 years. It has a network of 90 palaces with courtyards, almost 1,000 buildings, and a total of 8,724 rooms. But even with all its beauty and history, the Forbidden City has seen many dark events. Over the centuries, stories of political schemes and tragic happenings have turned this beautiful place into a site full of eerie tales and secrets. Today, tourists come from all over the world to explore its vast grounds, but by 5 o'clock every evening, the gates close. Local legends say that this is when the spirits of the past start to wander. Some locals and visitors claim that ghosts roam the palace. People have reported seeing the spirits of imperial maids and concubines, especially on rainy days. They describe shadowy figures dressed in old Qing dynasty clothes, appearing on the wet palace walls, sometimes even hearing faint, old Chinese music floating in the air. One famous ghost story dates back to 1983. A man who didn't believe in ghosts snuck into the Forbidden City at night. The next morning, he was found in a state of shock. He claimed that throughout the night, ghostly figures with lanterns had chased him. While some are skeptical of his story, the palace's long and sometimes tragic history suggests that there might be reasons for these ghostly appearances. After all, many concubines met a terrible end within these palace walls, a sad practice that went on until the reign of the 9th Ming Emperor in Nanjing. But the story doesn't stop there. In Nanjing, located in Jiangsu province, there is a memorial called the Nanjing Massacre Memorial, also known as the Wall of Mourning. This memorial was built in 1995 and originally listed the names of 3,000 victims, though the massacre claimed over 200,000 lives. Every year, more names are added to the wall as part of a national day of remembrance. The massacre itself happened in December of 1937, over 6 brutal days, starting on the 13th. It was part of a larger conflict that began months earlier when Japanese forces attacked Shanghai. Even though the Chinese fought back fiercely, Shanghai fell in November after heavy naval bombardments. This opened the door for the terrible events that took place in Nanjing. When the Japanese troops entered the city, they left no one unharmed in their ruthless advance. They began searching for Chinese soldiers who might have tried to blend in by dressing like regular people. Any man who could be of military age was considered suspicious if they had certain signs, like marks on their shoulders from carrying heavy loads, rough feet, or scars. If someone had these signs, they were executed near the Yangtze River. The Japanese military seemed to feel they could do whatever they wanted without facing consequences. They lost control, with soldiers eliminating anyone who angered them and committing terrible acts of violence against women, both young and old. Let's explore a dark moment in history and how it shapes the future. The largest execution happened on December 18th. On that day alone, about 57,000 people were eliminated. This marked one of the most horrific events in the history between China and Japan. Most of the people who died during the Nanjing Massacre were regular civilians. The reasons for such brutality are still debated by historians. Some believe it was because the Japanese soldiers were angry after losing many men in the Battle of Shanghai. The violence wasn't new either. Back in August 1937, 2 Japanese soldiers had even held a competition to see who could eliminate 100 people the fastest with only their swords. This horrifying contest was reported in Japanese newspapers every day. The Nanjing Massacre remains a deeply tragic event in Chinese history, something that is still remembered and felt by the Chinese people. A memorial now stands to remind everyone of the terror and cruelty that comes with war. In 1974, a farmer named Yang Jifa and his 5 brothers made one of the greatest archaeological discoveries in China. They were digging a well near Mount Li when they found what they thought was a Buddha statue. Yang quickly told archaeologists, who started digging the next day. To their surprise, they discovered something even more remarkable: the Terracotta Army of Emperor Qin Shi Huang. The Terracotta Army was made between 246 and 208 BC and consists of about 8,000 life-sized clay soldiers, along with wooden and bronze chariots. Buried near this site is the tomb of Emperor Qin Shi Huang, an important figure in Chinese history. He is known for ending the 200-year-long Warring States period and founding the first centralized state in China. Each terracotta soldier is unique, with different faces and weapons, from spears to crossbows and swords. Their ranks also vary, from regular soldiers to high-ranking officers, and their sizes reflect real human dimensions. The entire site covers 59 square kilometers and is believed to have taken 38 years to complete, with 700,000 workers involved. Interestingly, scientists have not fully explored the tomb of Emperor Qin Shi Huang yet. They think it might still hold many secrets, possibly including defensive traps meant to protect the emperor's final resting place. Near the heart of the old Shang state, close to its former capital, an amazing discovery was made: an ancient burial site for the wealthy elite of the time. Nearby, there was also a place where rituals using both human and animal remains were performed. This area, known as the Shang State or Yin Xu, is the earliest organized state in Chinese history, dating back to around 1600 to 1000 BC. The city, once called Yin, became important again after these remains were found, and it is now recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Once the site was discovered, archaeologists started digging and found many artifacts that gave new insight into this old dynasty. Although much about Yin Xu's customs is still unknown, the newly discovered tombs have helped fill in some gaps. About 4.5 kilometers from the main site, 28 tombs were found, and among them, 3 were especially large. These large tombs, shaped like the Chinese character for loyal, suggest they were meant for high-ranking people. Next to these tombs, pits used for rituals were also uncovered. At first, they found remains of horses and other animals, but later digs also revealed human remains, showing that the Yin Xu rituals involved both animal and human sacrifices. These discoveries have opened new ways to understand ancient Chinese burial practices. But this wasn't the worst part. Why these sacrifices were made is still a mystery. Now, we dig into old secrets to reveal more about ancient China.
Taoism is the only religion that originated in China itself. Its foundation lies in the doctrines of the famous philosopher Laozi.
As archaeologists kept exploring, they found another important site within the ancient city, a cemetery for rich individuals. This cemetery had tunnel-like graves and spaces for rituals, offering even more chances to learn about ancient China. Switching to a different part of Chinese culture, the Temple of White Clouds in Beijing is the largest Taoist temple in the country. Taoism, which started in China, is based on the teachings of the philosopher Laozi, written over 1,800 years ago. At the heart of Taoism is the idea of yin and yang, which is about balancing opposites and living in harmony with your life's path. Among Taoism's many gods, those representing water, heaven, and earth are especially important, though the religion honors a vast number of deities. The Temple of White Clouds was originally built in 741 during the reign of Emperor Wanzong of the Tang dynasty. Its name and structure have changed many times over the years. It was first called the Temple of Heavenly Eternity and was later renamed during the Song Dynasty. Finally, in the 1440s, it got its current name. Over the centuries, the temple has been rebuilt several times, especially after a fire almost destroyed it in 1202. While no deaths were reported in the fire, local legends in Beijing say that the spirits of monks still wander the temple ground. But these stories don't cause much worry. The spirits are said to be peaceful. However, it's unclear if these tales are true, and the current monks don't speak about them. Today, the Temple of White Clouds is not only a place for spiritual practice, but also a popular tourist destination, especially for Buddhists visiting from other countries. The temple covers a large area with many smaller temples and religious buildings on its grounds. At noon, the center of the area and the green garden in the back are full of life and color. Around the grounds, you can find 19 halls and pavilions, where about 30 monks live. These monks are easy to spot, with their special clothes and shaved heads. Further away, the Altai Mountains stretch across the borders of Russia, Mongolia, Kazakhstan, and China. In China, this mountain range runs through the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, a place famous for its beautiful views, including snow-covered peaks, steep cliffs, and thick forests. The large valleys and many rivers in this region attract lots of visitors every year. One of the most popular places in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region is Kanas Lake, which is located inside the Autonomous Geopark. Sitting 1,340 meters above sea level, this freshwater lake covers more than 44 square kilometers and is as deep as 188 meters in some parts. Kanas Lake is famous for its changing watercolors, which can shift from bright blue to emerald green to grayish blue, depending on the time of day. Sometimes visitors even get to see the Buddha's light phenomenon, a glowing circle with a rainbow halo around it, where you can see your own shadow reflected in the light. But that's not the only interesting thing about Kanas Lake. For years, people have talked about a mysterious creature living in its waters. The first sighting was in 1980, when someone saw a huge shadow and large waves in the lake. Since then, others have said they've seen a creature about 30 meters long, looking a lot like the Loch Ness Monster. While some people believe the stories, scientists say it's more likely just a school of large fish, like trout. Not too far from there, you'll find the Huanglong Cave near Zhangjiajie in Hunan. This cave, also known as the Yellow Dragon Cave, is a massive karst cave with connected chambers and an underground river. It covers 48 hectares, stretches for 15 kilometers, and is 140 meters high. More than 1 million people visit this cave every year. Scientists believe the cave got so big because water has been dripping from the ceiling for thousands of years, slowly wearing away the rock. Next, we enter a world where history meets legend. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Locals tell a different story. They believe gods once lived in the cave, filling it with magical energy that blesses visitors with better lives. Inside, there are two paths, the longevity path and the happiness path. Walking the longevity path is supposed to give you a long and healthy life, while the happiness path is said to bring joy to your family. Visitors today also get to see the brightly lit stalactites, which give the cave an almost otherworldly feel. Most people enjoy taking boat rides along the underground river, though some report feeling uneasy, which locals say might be due to spirits still lingering in the cave. Beneath the busy streets of Beijing lies a massive underground structure known as the Great Underground Wall. Originally built as bomb shelters for national defense, these tunnels have now become a curious attraction for visitors. The idea for this underground city came in the late 1950s, during a time when tensions with the Soviet Union were rising. Fearing a possible nuclear attack, Chinese officials began planning a huge protective system. By 1969, after a clash with Soviet forces at Lake Damansky, Chairman Mao Zedong ordered the construction of this massive shelter to protect the people of Beijing from a nuclear disaster. The project took 10 years to complete, involving over 300,000 workers to build shelters for Beijing's population of over 6 million. The underground network is like a small city, made up of around around 20,000 shelters connected by tunnels that stretch more than 18 miles. Inside, the underground space had everything a city would need: restaurants, theaters, schools, hospitals, and more. Each shelter was equipped with ventilation systems designed to keep people safe in case of an attack. But here's the surprising part. The war never happened, and by the 1980s, these tunnels started being used for cheaper housing and business spaces. At one point, nearly 1 million people lived in the underground city. But this wasn't the end of the story. In 2010, the government started pushing back against people living in these shelters illegally, though clearing them out was no easy task. Today, many of these areas sit abandoned, yet they draw tourists curious about the strange combination of playful amusement areas and the eerie post-apocalyptic atmosphere. Not far from Beijing is another strange sight, a deserted amusement park called Wonderland, near the village of Chunjian. This park was supposed to be the biggest in Asia, even bigger than Disneyland. It was funded by a big company, the Rainwood Group, and construction began with great excitement. But in 1998, due to disagreements over zoning, the work suddenly stopped. Now, Wonderland is unfinished, with its fairy tale towers and broken-down rides standing in the middle of farmlands, where local farmers have taken over. This strange contrast makes the scene feel even more surreal. The park, once meant to be a place of fun and fantasy, now stands as a haunting reminder of what could have been. In 2013, some parts of the park were torn down, but many sections remain, giving visitors a glimpse of a dream that never came true. Yet, this isn't even the strangest part. Signs around the park warn of possible soil contamination, likely put up to keep curious explorers away. The mix of collapsing rides, half-demolished structures, and nearby farmlands creates an eerie but oddly beautiful scene. We now look at places left behind and stories they still tell. But the tale of abandoned places in China doesn't stop there. Scattered across the country are ghost towns that tell similar stories. One such place is near the hills of Shenyang, a development planned for the rich, but now stands completely empty. Started in 2010, the area was supposed to have 260 luxury homes, but just 2 years later, construction halted. Now, unfinished buildings stand like silent witnesses to a forgotten plan, while farmers use the land for crops and livestock, adding new life to these strange, deserted places. In the Chongqing region, on the northern banks of the Yangtze River, there's an unusual and incomplete city called Fengdu, also known as the City of the King of Hell. People believe that good spirits go up to heaven, while bad ones end up in Fengdu. Historically, Fengdu was a burial ground with many temples and mausoleums, which now sit among the ruins of an old city. When the Three Gorges Dam was built, it caused flooding in Fengdu, but the parts of the city that were on higher ground survived. Today, these remaining areas draw tourists from all over the world, attracted by the unique Chinese beliefs about life after death. According to legend, in the 2nd century BC, 2 people named Yin and Wang settled in Fengdu. They started as Taoist hermits, but later became immortals. Their names together formed the word Yin Wang, meaning King of Hell, a title now linked to the area. Today, you can find statues and art of ghosts and demons in Fengdu, and many of the attractions have names related to the afterlife. One of the popular spots is a haunted house painted with glow-in-the-dark colors, but the main draw is a huge sculpture of the King of Hell's face. This sculpture is actually the world's largest cliff-carved face. To the southwest of Beijing, across the Yangtze River, stands the Lugo Bridge, an ancient bridge built in the 12th century during a time of wars between the Khitan and Jurchen tribes. Made with impressive granite blocks and lined with lion statues, this bridge even caught the eye of Marco Polo, so it's also known as the Marco Polo Bridge. Besides its beautiful design, this bridge was the site of a critical event in the 20th century. On July 7, 1937, a small clash between Japanese and Chinese troops here turned into a major battle, which later led to the Second Sino-Japanese War. After the fighting, Beijing was invaded by Japanese forces. Some locals who live near the bridge claim that they can still hear the screams of soldiers and sometimes even see their ghosts. These spooky tales add to the growing collection of paranormal stories that come from places where tragic events took place. Further south, in Henan Province, is the city of Luoyang, home to the Longmen Caves. This breathtaking complex of Buddhist temples is carved right into the cliffs. The project began in 493 AD during the Northern Wei Dynasty and lasted over 200 years, with 6 different dynasties contributing to it. The Longmen Caves include 2,345 grottos, housing 43 temples, nearly 3,000 inscriptions, and over 100,000 religious sculptures. This site is a testament to the incredible artistic and spiritual achievements of ancient Chinese civilizations. As you explore the caves, you'll notice how the art evolved over time, with the simpler carvings from the Northern Wei Dynasty and the more detailed, elaborate works from the Tang Dynasty. Each era reflects the deep devotion and creativity of the people from those times. What are your thoughts on the preservation of ancient sites like Longmen Caves against modern development? Like, comment, and subscribe for more discussions on cultural heritage.